if you're struggling with support and you're struggling with getting people to understand, it's probably because you're not communicating your heart well enough. Use these 5 steps. And I promise that if you can do that and you pray through it and you think about it and you share honestly, that other people, if this is God's call in your life, that there are people out there that will join you. We're going to talk about how to cast your vision. And what that means is how to communicate what's on your heart, why you do your art, why you make the creation you make, why you go on stream, why you make the music, why you do the art, why you do the whatever it is. And what purpose behind that do you believe that God has given you to share that with the world, right? If God gave you a reason to exist and you believe that part of that reason is to be creative, to be a creator, to be someone who is either on stream or making YouTube videos or making music or drawing digital art or whatever the million other things, doing podcasts, then what's your reason for doing that? And one of the things you want to do, especially if you feel like it's really a big part of your life, if you want to be able to communicate this in such a way that other people will support you, right? Other people will take a look and look at you, what you're doing, understand your heart behind it, and then want to give you some money to help out, some time to help out, some space to help out, their work, their effort, their whatever, to be able to help you to do better. And the only way that happens is if you're able to communicate clearly what your vision is. So, how to do that? How do you do that? It comes down to basically 5 things, okay? There's 5 things that you can do in order to communicate this. And this works for a ton of stuff, right? If you're selling something, if you're trying to communicate with your spouse or with your kid, something that's on your heart, if you are, trying to make a plan, explain to yourself or give yourself a really good reason why you need to lose weight or why you need to do whatever it is. This system, what I'm about to tell you, is a great communication system for inspiring whatever that is. And so we're going to talk about it from the place of vision casting for your channel, for your art, for your Twitter page, for your Instagram, for your TikTok, for whatever it is. And then we're going to move it into basically how do you bring it to a place where you can actually share it with others. So there are 5 steps. A strong beginning, okay? Keep it to one theme, use simple language, and you have use pictures and an emotional ending. So I'll do mine as an example, and then you guys kind of can fill in your gap. So let's start with the strong beginning, right? So you got to start with an example story, an emotional story, a personal story, some kind of powerful illustration. If you ever go to a talk, they usually start with a strong story. If you ever listen to a TED Talk, they always start with, here's like this is why this is so important for you to hear. This is a big deal. This is so important. And so for me, when I share my vision, so I'll start with basically saying, here's something important that you need to know, or here's something that is new that I've learned, or here's something that is critical for you to understand about this topic. And so for me, I go like, do you know, say I'm talking to a church, let's just use the example here. I am talking to a church or talking to Christians, right? You know how you just spent a whole bunch of time over the last year working so hard to get people to come to your church, come to your ministries, come to your bake sales, come to your felt need ministries, come just show up in some kind of way, that you've been to places, you've gone into the community, tried to invite them there, right? You guys have spent time, effort, energy. You guys have spent volunteer hours just so you can try to get some folks in the community so you can do outreach, so you can share God's love with them. That's awesome. But here's the thing. There's an entire group of people out there that you've never met, that you will never meet, and that will never come to a single one of your events. These people are shut-ins. These people have mental illnesses. These people have social anxiety. These people are hurting, and these people are lost, to the point where not only are they just lost in the forest, but they are unfindable by you. There's no way for you to get to them. These are your grandkids. These are your children. These are your friends. These are single men that have been to your church or maybe never come to your church and you've never seen them again. These people You can never touch them, but I'll tell you a way. I can show you a way. I've experienced how to be able to not only meet their needs, meet them in their place, but actually be invited back. I can get into their room. I can get to where they live through the ministry that I'm doing. I can actually meet them in a way you never can, right? So strong start. The idea of the strong start is to say that you want to give them kind of story, give them a real deep meaning. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I'm going to use some practical examples. So like ukulele worship, right? The idea of, why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you start that? Like when I first got onto Twitch, I realized that there was so little Christian music. There were a lot of musicians, a lot of people out there that were singing, and they were beautiful and whatever. But when it came to actual songs that Christians and that were pulling people towards God, there was so few of them that I felt compelled to use the instrument that I had, the voice that I have, to be able to fill in that gap. I think it's just so important that people worship every day. I think it's critical that people have their day started out with thinking about God, and I want to be part of that. And it wasn't. And these people who are trapped in home, they're not going to devos. They're not going to turn on Christian radio. They're not going to they're not doing that. But I can meet them in a special way and be able to reciprocate back to them, pray for them live because of what I'm doing. It's an amazing opportunity that almost nobody else out there is doing, right? That emotional start. Chovy is another great example, right? Chovy, he goes on stream and he's got a purpose for being there. Why are you there? Because there are people out there that were like me. Right? I was someone, I didn't like God. I was a rebel. I was antisocial. I was, I didn't give two hoots, and God got a hold of my heart. And I recognize now that I want to meet the needs of those people that are out there that don't love God, don't love themselves, don't have people that care about them, that feel like they are lost, lonely all over the world. And I want to be a place that they can come and they can see. And they can know that they are loved simply because we're bonding over the same game. I can do that, and it makes me absolutely so happy whenever I can have conversations with that. Strong beginning. Always start with that strong emotional beginning, right? The next thing is to keep with one theme. If you try to add too many things to your story or to your vision, people are going to get bored. They're not going to listen. In fact, when I was preaching, when I started, I did it just like everybody else, right? It was 3 points in a prayer. Find 3 things in there that you can use, 3 applications, and then finish it off. And I learned after, I don't know, maybe 7, 8, 10 years of preaching, people do not remember 2 of them ever. Lucky if they remember the sermon from last week. I mean, that's good enough if they can do that. People don't remember 2 points. They remember 1. That's it. They can remember 1 thing. So I just decided, I took it and I said, I'm going to, from now on, teach. When I preach, I'm going to have 1 sermon point. That's it. From now on, there's going to be 1. And it's going to be thematic. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can start with that 1 and I can kind of loop out and come back, and I can loop out and come back. But I want them to go home with 1 thing. Just 1 thing. In your vision casting to your church, to your friends, to your parents, to your neighborhood, to whoever you're trying to convince that what you're doing is valuable, 1 point, right? So my vision statement doesn't actually stick to this. I say, welcome to the XtianNinja channel, where we're building an open, encouraging, and meaningful online family through gaming, real talk, and God's truth for the content creators and the lost, lonely, and disenfranchised. That is too much. It should. I've been chewing on it for a long time, but I've memorized it, and so it's stuck in my brain. It should simply be, welcome to the XtianNinja channel, where we're building meaningful community through real talk or entertainment, or 1 thing, even 2 maybe, real talk and God's truth, for the disenfranchised online, period, right? That's it. It should be very, very simple. So when people hear from you, it should be 1 point. What's the 1 point? Well, I want you to know this 1 thing. There are people at home that you will never reach, that your church can never touch, Your ministries will never touch. Your evangelists will never touch. They won't even know they exist. They are untouchable to you, but I can reach them. That's the one thing I want you to, how can I reach them? You don't know how. You don't know the tech, you don't know the system, you don't know the people, you don't know the games, you don't know none of it. You guys have no clue how to get to them. I do. And I know a whole bunch of people who also do. Okay? So therefore you should support me so I can help you reach them. The second thing is 1 point. So what's your one theme? Right? When you're communicating this vision, and you can do this in like 1 page. You can do this in like 2 paragraphs. What's your one thing? So like who else is in there? Let's talk, what is your one thing that you do with your channel, your one thing you do with your art, one thing you do with your music. I want to bring people into the presence of God. I want to inspire people who dance, who want to go to the club, but all their stuff is, everything they listen to is sinful and gross and tempting. And I want to give them the dance music, but I don't want them to be tempted. So I'm going to make good dance music for them that also honors God. Or I'm going to do digital art, and I want to inspire people toward big thoughts, right? Or I want to make people laugh. My whole thing is that there are a lot of people out there who are really messed up, really sad, really sick and tired, and they live on Twitter. And Twitter is such a poisonous, toxic, horrible place that I want to be able to go onto Twitter and inject humor. I have artistic skills. I have a good sense of humor, and through my medium, people will pass it, they'll see it, and it will give them a moment of levity and a break from the toxic stuff. That's my mission. That's my hope. That one thing. Yeah, you're doing lots of other things, right? I also want to teach other artists, and I also want to, raise money for the poor. I also want to, I want to teach other people how to whatever, you've got all these other things you want to do. But when you're casting your vision, it needs to be the one thing. They need to walk out with one thing. They can discover the rest. Right? They'll go to your website, they'll go to your channel, they'll go to your whatever, and they'll go like, okay, what do I see here? Oh, hey, they're also into this. They're also into that. Oh, that's pretty cool that they do this. But I'm here. They got interested because you hammered home that one thing, right? The third thing that you need to do is simple language. Okay. Your temptation is going to be clever. Right? You're going to look online and you're going to see a lot of clever stuff. It's going to be really alliterative. You're going to have things in that are they seem super cool, or they're really trendy, or they are something that you're going to want to use technical jargon so that you're accurate, or you're going to want to use big faith words or whatever. The trick to communicating your vision, number 3, is use simple language, right? Like me using the word disenfranchised at the end of my my vision is not simple language, right? That's why I've been chewing on this stupid vision statement for so long, because it's not perfect. So basically, to say the lost and lonely, I should leave off disenfranchised, because lost and lonely is plenty, right? I want to reach the lost and lonely. I want to reach, content creators who've been hurt by their churches, hurt by their pastors, who and unsupported. I want to be their pastor. I want to be their content creator pastor. That's what I want. That sounds really simple, right? Because I want to, drop a bunch of verses and talk about the history of whatever and talk about, all these church stories or whatever, but that's just going to confuse things. I got to use simple language. I would encourage you to go to your vision page, go to your about page, go to your, your stream info, go to your, whatever your art descriptor is, whatever the thing is that you have that is sharing with the world what you do, and read it from like a grade 4 level. Read it and look for big words, complicated words, things that you think are clever that are actually clouding your communication. Because if you're not communicating clearly and they need to riddle it out, they're not going to get it. They're not going to put the work into that, right? You think, oh, they're going to see this, they're going to think I'm clever, and they'll be excited by it. They're going to want to know more. No, they're going to read it, think you're confusing, and move on to someone else. How can you clarify your vision in such a way that it is is simple for enough for a 9-year-old to understand, right? Can you explain it to a 9-year-old? And then number 4 is pictures. You need illustrations. You need to have, now there's 2, if you're just talking, obviously you need illustration, right? So my story would be, like I remember a time where I was on stream and a guy came in and he just started hammering the chat with question after question after question. Like, it sounded belligerent. It sounded like they were trying to start a fight. It sounded like they were just trolling. There were so many questions that were coming, and I was answering as best I could, but they'd come so fast. They would be asking two more by the time I got around to even answering the first one. And my mods were going, should we chug? I will chug Wassel. Hey there, Alex. Good to see you, man. My mods were like, should we kick this guy? Like, he seems like he's being a jerk. And I'm like, well, let's hold off on that. Let's not kick him, see what happens. He asked question after question after question, got through, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many, a lot. Got to the end, and he said in chat, thank you for answering my questions. I've been thinking about God, thinking about going to church, but I had so many things on my head. I'm autistic, and so therefore I don't communicate that great. But I had so many things I want to do, or so many things I wanted to ask that I didn't know who to ask. Thank you for doing that. I think I'll go to church tomorrow. Like, it was like that moment was the reason that I am here. It is God had given me this training. God had given me this opportunity. I'm on camera. I'm on stream. He comes because I'm playing a game or talking about something, and he sees someone because he sees the tag and he knows what I'm all about, and he asks the questions so that he can take his faith to the next level and make it practical in real life. And that's an absolute win. That's an absolute win. That is my illustration for how this is all supposed to work. Right? We can also use our favorite one, sort of as the future queen of hell. But that's an old story. There have been a lot of people who have come to this channel. If I go with Taco, right? So go with Taco. There have been people who have come to me and have said, and I won't give names for this one, but basically, I came to my pastor and I felt called that I wanted to share my life with the world through streaming. I wanted to start gaming. It was an interest I have, but it's not. But there's a community out there that I wanted to reach: Call of Duty community, Fortnite community, whatever, Twitch community, and they're people that I care about. So I wanted to use that to serve them. So I went to my pastor, went to my church, and I said, "This is what I want to do. I believe God's calling me to this." Right? And then my pastor said, "No, that's not real. You shouldn't do that. If you want to do real ministry, you come to church, turn off the video games, turn off the computer, stop doing that." And it crushed my heart. It broke my heart. And so therefore I came home and I've decided to do it anyway, but I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have anyone to disciple me, and I don't have anyone to train me. I don't know if there are any other Christian creators. And he started talking to me, he found us, he found Taco, and that and they went, I didn't realize that this is around. This is a real thing. So thank you for doing this, because nobody else is doing this. I know my church isn't. That's who I exist for, those people. For you, when you think about your vision, right? What is a great picture? You can even use an actual picture, right? So like if you Google, I've done this for lonely gamer, just like a dark room and the dude's got a controller and his face is glowing, right? Or for you, like angry Twitch person, or lost hurt person, or like I think of DSW, right? Someone who's been through abuse, who's like church abuse. Like, what does that look like in a picture? And that can be on the wall behind you in your PowerPoint or on your website or whatever, because it communicates the emotion well. If you don't have a picture, you don't have an illustration, they're not going to have anything to grab onto. That opening illustration, like that strong opening, they've forgotten it. Okay, they've forgotten it. That was what you gave. They gave you permission to talk some more after you did that. Otherwise, they tuned you out. If you didn't have that strong opening, they would be tuned out. They wouldn't hear the rest. But because you did the strong opening, they're giving you permission to speak more. Now you explain what's going on and use a picture in order to help it understand, or an illustration. That illustration is what they're going to remember, right? People will walk away remembering there's a gamer out there who, or there's a person out there who, or there's I met this guy, met this person online, and that was the story. Here's the story he told. That's the only part they're going to remember. So that's number 4. And the fifth one is, and you're going to call this manipulative, but it's just the way it is an emotional ending. It needs to be an invitation ending. Okay, so I'm not saying you tell another emotional story, but what you do is you come down and this is the place where you go, and I need your help, and I can't do this alone, and this is why it hits me so hard. Okay, so for me, I'd go here. I'd say, I know what it's like to be these people. I was hurt by the church. I've been through 2 abusive churches. I understand mental illness. I understand depression, and I understand PTSD personally. I know what it's like to sit at home and be afraid to step out, afraid to go to church, afraid to do anything, that when the phone calls, I jump because I don't want to talk to anybody. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to retreat into my shell and to avoid even people that know me and my friends simply because I don't want to be hurt anymore. And I know what it's like that when you're in that situation, it's really hard to get out. I know what it's like to come to the computer and to turn it on and to just long for some kind of something that will not make me feel gross or make me feel guilty, but will be distracting enough and positive, but not preachy and not going to make me feel like the. And I know what it's like to meet somebody online who changed my life because they were willing to be my friend in the safest possible way for all that I was prepared for. That's what I want to be for these people. That's what I've been for these people for the last 21 months. And I need your help. I don't have enough resources, time, help, intelligence, connections. I'm doing my best, but there is so much out there, and the need is so great. 3.4 billion gamers in this world, 140,000 people watching Twitch every single day. The need is too great, and I'm too small, and I need your help. Could you partner with me in serving these people? Because they're my heart, right? So for you, when you're casting your vision, when you're finishing it off, you get to the end, right? Your emotional ending is not some manipulative thing, whatever. It is you cracking your heart open, being vulnerable with them, and sharing why it's so personal, right? If it's the Twitter thing, because I know I was a toxic Twitter person too, and I got into a ton of arguments, and I hated it. I was so bitter, but then when I started injecting positivity, it changed my life. I grew. A lot of people have said thank you because of that, and that positivity has changed my life. And I want your help to help me change lives too, because you've all experienced the toxicity online, or I know many of you guys ukulele, right? I know a lot of you guys, you struggle with worship too. Right? You wake up in the morning, you don't do your devos, you don't connect to God, you feel distant from Him. What if you just came by? Come to my channel, we sing a song together, I read you the word, we work on it together. I do all the heavy lifting for you. There are a lot of people out there, and you guys feel this too. What if you guys supported me and we're able to get people worshiping every single day? I know that's your heart. I know that's what you guys want. That's what I want to help me, right? So here's how you do it. The 4 steps again or 5 steps again are a strong beginning, keep it to one theme, simple language, use a picture or an illustration, and an emotional ending. Okay? That invitation that comes from your heart. That's how you're going to communicate your vision effectively. And if you can do that, you're going to get people on board. If you're struggling with support and you're struggling with getting people to understand, it's probably because you're not communicating your heart well enough. Use these 5 steps, and I promise that if you can do that and you pray through it and you think about it and you share honestly, that other people, if this is God's call in your life, that there are people out there that will join you. That's not a good burger.
Tell you that smoking is good for you,
Whoop,
but it's
whoop, 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 whoop,
not
whoop.
good for that patty.
I'll get it. I'll get it.
What goes well with burgers? Freedom. When frying a patty, you want it to be cooked just right.